All right, what is up, guys? So this is actually my first video ever. Um, so I just wanted to get on here and react to this video I saw from Apologia Studios. It's an older video. I think I think it was 8 years old. And I just wanted to react to this one. It kind of highlights something that Apologia does pretty often on their YouTube channel. They've got a bunch of videos like this one, and I just wanted to respond to some of the points that Jeff makes here. I think they're based in either Arizona or Utah. What they do is they stand outside of temples. I think here they're at looks like the Mesa Temple. And they pull aside Latter-day Saint members that are not theologians. They record their conversations, often without the permission of the person, often without the person even knowing, and they essentially attack our beliefs in an attempt to do what they would call witnessing to the Mormons, letting us know we have the wrong Jesus and the wrong gospel. The problem here is they're usually, and you'll see this with Jeff, they're creating straw man arguments. The other problem is the people that they speak to are usually not well read, not well informed, and they don't even think too deeply about theological topics. I'm a Latter-day Saint. I did serve a mission, and I've just been studying more about apologetics and theology and just more deeply in general. And I've come to realize that our theology is actually quite deep and quite misunderstood, so I just wanted to react here. In this video, we'll see Jeff. This is Jeff Durban here. He pulls aside this Latter-day Saint missionary, and a lot of people have this impression of, well, he's a missionary, he should know these things, he should understand how to have these types of conversations. The answer is, my response to that is no. The missionary's purpose is not this. It's not to have conversations like this. The purpose of a missionary is not to be an apologist. They're not theologians. They have very basic principles that they're expected to teach, and not that they shouldn't be informed. Certainly, everyone can become more informed and learn more, but the purpose of a missionary is to invite people to read the Book of Mormon and be baptized if they believe in it. So they invite people to read the Book of Mormon, and then they have the authority to baptize and bring people closer to Jesus. And so, anyways, just wanted to start with that. I don't expect a missionary like this guy to really be able to handle these questions. He didn't do too well. He was kind of caught off guard, I think, and so I think we should give him some grace here. But it's not just this missionary. They pull aside members all the time that just are not prepared for these questions. So, anyways, sorry for that long introduction, but I just wanted to explain why I'm reacting to the video in the first place, and so I also don't want to misrepresent Apology at all, so I'll if I can, I'll link the full video so that you guys can watch it, and link their channel in the description. So yeah, let's jump into it. We're just going to watch the first 20 seconds or so.
We're okay.
No? Do you believe you're going to become a god one day?
Yeah.
Why?
It is in the scriptures and the prophets have told
Where?
us. It's all throughout the scriptures.
Where?
If you really want to know, I guess you could search the scriptures yourselves. But
You know, the Bible actually says, and Isaiah.
Okay, so I don't want to be annoying and react to tiny snippets, but we already have a problem here. So as I mentioned, you can see here the elder was not super prepared for this question. When Jeff asks him where, the missionary kind of freezes and gives kind of a half response. You can search them yourself. Like I said before, missionaries aren't really supposed to care about these things. But the bigger problem is the misrepresentation of our faith by Jeff with a kind of a tricky question He said, do you believe you're going to become a god one day? And the elder answers, yeah. Now, what he should have said is, no, I'm going to become like God one day. This would be him clarifying our position, and it's what we actually believe. I think this is important. Other Christians think we believe we're going to replace God, we're going to have our own planets. The fact of the matter is we can't replace God. Jeff asked this elder where, or in other words, I think he's asking where is it taught in Scripture. And I guess I'll pull up what the church, this is from Gospel Topics essay. I just wanted to, these first two paragraphs, I think, highlight more of what we believe. It says, several biblical passages intimate that humans can become like God. The likeness of humans to God is emphasized in the first chapter of Genesis. God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. After Adam and Eve partook of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, God said they had, quote, become as one of us, suggesting that a process of approaching godliness was already underway. Later, in the Old Testament, a passage in the book of Psalms declares, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. New Testament passages also point to this doctrine. When Jesus was being accused of blasphemy on the grounds of, thou being a man makest thyself God, he responded, echoing Psalms, is it not written in your law, I said, ye are gods. Kind of funny, this is exactly the argument that Jeff is making here against this elder, thou being a man makest thyself God. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus commanded his disciples to become, quote, perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. In turn, the Apostle Peter referred to the Savior's exceeding great and precious promises that we might become partakers of the divine nature. The Apostle Paul taught that we are the offspring of God, and emphasized that as such we are the children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ. The book of Revelation contains a promise from Jesus Christ that to him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with the Father in his throne, yada yada. So, now I'm not saying that these passages themselves prove that we will become like God one day. However, I do think, given these passages, and I don't want to proof text them, I mean, you can find these and read the context, but given these passages, it's not unreasonable for someone to conclude that we might become like God. Often people like Jeff and people from other churches will view this as a huge heresy, that it's something that's not biblical, but I think the Bible's quite clear that God is viewed as a parent, that he's our father, and just like a son can grow up to become as good as his father or become like his father, we believe we can become like God, as we're commanded to be perfect, even as our Father in heaven is perfect. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. Let's jump into the next little bit here, the next like 20 seconds.
Isaiah 43:10, before me there was no God formed, neither shall there be after me. I am the first and I'm the last. Besides me there is no God. Joseph taught that there were gods before God, and you could become one day.
Yeah.
The scriptures condemn that. And you're on your mission telling people about a God and a gospel that's contrary to the scriptures.
Then again,
Okay, so here Jeff moves to quoting Isaiah 43:10. It says, ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen, that ye may know and believe me, and understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed, neither shall there be after me. So this is one of the biggest reasons I wanted to make this video. Apologia Studios, they love using this verse when they're talking to Latter-day Saints, and I think they kind of view it as like a slam dunk against our theology. The problem is that this verse says there are no gods formed other than God. There are no gods formed before him nor after him. Then Jeff and other Christians interpret this verse and say, see, there's only one God. But that's not what the verse says. It says there's no gods formed before or after God. To this I would just say, yeah, you don't form gods. Gods just exist. You don't form them, you don't make them. I think that's a more correct interpretation anyways, and it turns this verse from a, quote, slam dunk for the Christians to use against Latter-day Saints into a verse that's actually incredibly consistent with our theology, right? We don't believe you create or form gods. We believe that they just exist. We reject creatio ex nihilo. We don't think anything is made from nothing. So I don't think that this verse is the slam dunk that Jeff and other Christians might think it is. There's also other ways to reconcile this verse and other verses as well that seem problematic for our theology. Verses that say things like, I am God and there is no other. Verses like this are not saying there isn't only one God in existence. Rather, this is a common Hebrew idiom, which is all throughout the Bible, which expresses the incomparability of our God to your God. There's evidence of this throughout the Hebrew Bible. The first commandment says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. It doesn't say I'm the only God in existence. It says, of all the gods in existence, have none of them before me. The actual language here suggests that there are other gods in existence and that we should just worship the one. They should just be worshiping Adonai. The Hebrew Bible is not monotheistic. It can't be. This would all explain, everything I just said would all explain why there's other passages in the Bible that talk about other gods, talk about, for example, the Council of Gods. So I think this is just Jeff misrepresenting the Hebrew Bible and taking this verse out of context, and that's not really appropriate. So let's keep going here.
The Bible has been translated multiple times, and through that, many things have become lost, which I guess is one reason why there's
So you disagree with Jesus when he says that heaven and earth will pass away, but his words will by no means pass away?
Well,
okay, I know I'm just reacting to tiny snippets, but I can't really respond to literally everything. The elder brings up this idea that there are truths that have been lost from the Bible. I think there's actually some strong evidence for this. We don't have the original New Testament manuscripts, and there's lots of evidence that the biblical texts were at least being tampered with, at worst being changed without permission from the original authors. I don't want to get too deep into this, but Bart Ehrman has done a lot of work on this. His book, Misquoting Jesus, is a good read if you're looking to learn more about how the biblical texts were compiled. But Jeff quotes, I believe it's Matthew 24, and it says, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words will never pass away. He asks, so you disagree with Jesus when he says this? To which I would say, no, Jeff, we don't disagree with Jesus, We don't disagree with Jesus when he says this. We disagree with your interpretation of what Jesus meant when he said this. Jeff is engaged in what I would call presentism at its finest. He's imposing his worldview and imposing sola scriptura on an ancient people that wouldn't have had any idea of these concepts. Jesus Christ was not saying, for example, heaven and earth shall pass away, but the Bible won't change. The concept of Bible didn't exist when that verse was written. So we're left with Jeff's interpretation versus our interpretation. I don't know what Jesus meant necessarily, but he certainly wasn't talking about the 66 texts of the Protestant biblical canon, because such a concept did not exist when Jesus allegedly said these words. So anyway, there's lots of problems there with his arguments. I think it's dishonest what they're doing. Sorry for the quality of this video. It's literally my first one. I just decided to just jump on here and make this. Let me know what you think in the comments. Feel free to correct me if I miss anything. Give me your opinions on what Apologia is doing. Is it right? Is it fair? Do you think they actually are misrepresenting our beliefs? I'm sure that we can give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they are actually trying to, help us find the correct Jesus. They're not doing this maliciously, but I still don't think that it's right, especially when they're pretty clearly misrepresenting what we actually believe. Like I said, I wasn't, of course, able to correct everything he said, and it may not have been a very in-depth analysis with deep answers, but I just wanted to show that we, as Latter-day Saints, don't have to be afraid of questions like these. A lot of times, it's just people like Jeff here misunderstanding and misrepresenting our theology while ignoring entirely his own theological presuppositions. So that's all I had. Thank you guys, and hope you have a great day.